30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Good morning again. This is Jonathan Small, host and producer of Face to Face. Face to Face is one of two different programs, and I have the pleasure of hosting and producing live every single week at AccessTV.org studio. Face to Face is a show that's designed to ask the guests the hard questions and give you, the viewers, the answers and information that you deserve to know. This morning on the Face to Face talk show, we have a very successful business person, entrepreneur. He is really moving up in the business world at a rapid, I guess you can say rapid pace, but certainly he can explain that better than I can. And he's doing, I guess, amazing things throughout the southeast section of the United States to go along with the U.S. Virgin Islands with his current company in operations. The guest this morning is the founder, president, and CEO of D.A. Everett Construction Group, headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, no other than Donavan Everett. Good morning, Donavan. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, John. How are you, man?
I'm doing fine. And you, Donovan? It's our pleasure to have you on.
No, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here, so thank you.
You're welcome. Donovan, could you kind of let people know a little bit about your background briefly before we get into our main topics of discussion?
Yeah. So, Donavan Everett, president of DA Everett Construction Group. I was born and raised in a small coastal town in North Carolina called Beaufort, North Carolina. And that's where I was born and raised. And that was early on where I got my start, I'm going to say, in this construction business. My father was is a general contractor. So I worked with him as I was growing up, building projects with him and growing up in that space. So I guess you could say I was born into the construction industry, but also born into a family of entrepreneurs. So I've been able to have access to that early on, and then graduated, went on to move to Raleigh and graduated from NC State in 2003. And while I was at NC State, I worked for a large developer in the construction space, and so that's where I got my exposure to the commercial side of construction. And then after I graduated from graduated from college at NC State, I went on to work for a large national construction company, Balfour Beatty Construction, and for 10 years. And that's where while I was there, got the entrepreneurial itch. And in 2013, started DA Everett Construction Group. Here we are, going on 12 years later, and offices, locations in Raleigh, Charlotte, operating in the Southeast United States, U.S. Virgin Islands. So it's an exciting journey we've been on, and looking forward to more of what we're going to do and the things we have planned for the business.
Well, Donovan, that's a very impressive resume, very impressive background, and definitely it stands out. When people hear DA Everett Construction Group, this is classified as a construction management firm, general contracting company. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we are a construction manager and commercial general contractor. So if you see a project out there, we're the company that is making that vision come to reality of putting all the pieces and parts in place, of the right tradespeople, and trade subcontractors, and we're managing and organizing the overall process and getting it executed for our clients. So yeah, we are the, the, the team that you'll see out there getting projects vertical, making them come to reality. So it's exciting what we do.
Well, Donovan, when you hear major development projects, there's different categories that people hear about, like the developer, the project manager, and the general contractor. These are all three different titles. They have three different roles that they play. Would your level as a general contractor be? I don't mean this disparagingly. Would it be below a project manager or developer, or would it just be a different level of operation?
Yeah, so I'd say, those three people, it's like a symphony. You need all three of them to make music. So we work together with all, the developers, architects, designers, project managers to make this thing, make whatever we're trying to build a reality. So, developers, they have the vision. Um, we execute that vision, and the project managers or owners reps or whatever will work directly with the owner to help them facilitate the process through execution with the construction manager. So I say we're all a necessary part of the equation to make a successful project, and a lot of times that those relationships are in different facets. Sometimes there may be a project manager involved. Sometimes there's not. The contractual structure may be a little different. Sometimes it's design build, where the architectural firm may work under the general contractor or construction manager, and there's times where the owner will hire contractor and architect and kind of the instruments in the symphony to make the music sound good. So
Well, sometimes the difference is also between a subcontractor and a general contractor. Uh, could you kind of outline again the difference, if you don't mind me asking, between, let's say, a subcontractor and a general contractor, because they're not the same from what I hear about. Just want to hear from you.
yeah, so a general contractor is I'm gonna call it the prime contractor, who typically will hold the contract with the owner. And then the subcontractor is what it says. The subcontractor is under contract with the general contractor. So tradespeople, think of plumbers, mechanicals, electrical, painters, roofers, all those different parts and pieces of a building that have to get done. Those are typically are done by subcontractors, and they will work under a contract with the general contractor. So they're a necessary part of our business. Even though they work under us, they're our partners to make it happen, because we can't do it without them. And so the relationship is a partnership with our subcontractors, because at the end of the day, without our subcontractors, you don't have a project, because they're the skilled trades folks that they have. They know it. They do it well, and they're a necessary part of the equation to make the business go around.
Currently, Donovan, how many people are employed for DA Everett Construction Group?
Yeah, we're right at 28, 29 employees. Probably should be about 35 to 40, but we're in a high growth stage. So uh, going to we're looking to hire more folks. So anybody out there listening, if you looking to be with a rapidly growing, great organization, construction company, I'm gonna throw a plug here. Send your resumes to careers at darecruit.com. We love to talk with you and have an opportunity to speak with you about some opportunities that we have.
Donovan, to have a general contracting construction management firm company like you operate, is there a certain amount of capital and credit that you have to run your operation? Obviously, you have to have a payroll budget, but I'm just saying, to be able to to be able to function on a day-to-day, year-to-year basis, what type of financial figures are we talking about that it requires for you to run your operation?
Yeah, so a construction company I'm gonna say it's a cash rich business, meaning you have to be pretty liquid to really sustain the ups and downs of the business. we have to pay suppliers a lot of times before we're not paid in some situations. We have our staff that we have to continue to pay even if our owners haven't been able to pay us at that point in time. So, you know, cash flow is important to run the business, managing that cash flow. So I'd say, each time, as we've grown and scaled the company, you do it based on the bandwidth that you have, based on the capital that you have. So I always liken it to a plane. You want to have enough runway to land the plane that you have. So sometimes you're starting out with a little Cessna 172, so you'll have a runway for that. But if you think you're going to land a big 747 on a regional airstrip, it's going to be hard to do with, and I liken that to capital. So you just got to manage the capital to make sure it's sized appropriately for the work that you're doing, so you don't put yourself in a situation to outrun the capital of your business. And we've been very fortunate to be able to manage that process and have capital to manage the growth that we're having, and that's all done through strategic investments back into our business with what we're doing year over year. So it is a cash rich, intensive business. So I would tell anybody who's looking to really get into construction and scale it, you want to make sure you're managing your cash and investing back into your business year over year to sustain the growth that you're trying to do.
Well, the whole process, Donovan, towards you generating your revenue and you getting your work is you have to put out a particular bid for a contract. Isn't that how a general contractor, I guess, operates? That there's a particular project and you have other different general general contractors putting out bids, and the person that comes in, usually would it be the lowest bid, is awarded the contract, or is it something else that you have to do to be awarded a contract?
Yeah, so there's several different ways to procure construction services. Um, there's what you just described is what you call traditional design bid, low build, traditional design build to design it. You bid it and you build it. That's the low bid methodology. Then there's what we call negotiated or qualifications based, or where it's not really so much low dollar, it's more value based services. We have we made a strategic decision not to be a low bid contractor. We believe our value is best to give our owners the value of thinking through things strategically and providing value to them to help them execute their projects. So the majority of our projects are qualifications based selection, where we're selected on our qualifications at a fee, and then we negotiate out the other parts of that job. So, we've been fortunate in that regard where our clients have seen our value. So we're not submitting low bid dollars for a project and doing that. We see our value as being a solutions provider to our clients under a method that's traditionally heard of CM at risk, or a negotiated type contract with our owners to help them execute that. So majority of our projects, we're not low bidding or submitting bid numbers. We're submitting our qualifications of why we feel we're the best team and the best experience to execute this project for our clients.
Okay, Donovan, before you moved your headquarters from Raleigh, North Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina, what were some of the major projects, or just some of the projects in general that you were working towards? And then I'll ask you another question related towards this question.
Yeah, so we started our business in Raleigh. So we did a lot of projects in the Research Triangle area. So everybody knows the Raleigh-Durham area is rich with higher education facilities. So places like North Carolina Central University, UNC Chapel Hill, Duke University. We had the opportunity to really work with those clients. So Duke University, we built the Duke Student Health and Wellness Center. At North Carolina Central, we not too long ago, a couple of years ago, wrapped up their new business school. And then over at Chapel Hill, we did the Hill Hall project. And we've been on some mega projects in Raleigh where, the new Department of Health and Human Services campus, which is a $250 million project that we're a part of in a joint venture on that. So we've been a part of some pretty good projects with some pretty good clients that are, that are high profile. So, but that's particularly there in Raleigh, but we have others outside that area. But, that was while we were there in Raleigh, but we've done some other high profile projects that we've done since we've expanded as well.
And Donovan, usually would that now give you a good networking source towards future projects? Would that give you a different level of credibility and reputation to go along with financial assets when you establish yourself like you were able to do towards looking to make a transition to another particular part of North Carolina, or just in general towards advancing to different higher projects?
Yeah, I always say the project you're on is the best business development tool that you could have because it's going to sell itself. And if you can turn to a client and say, "Hey, my team, we did this job over here in for Duke University, and we are talking to another university, and they can see that that project was executed. They can talk to the owner and see that it was done, job done well, and done on, it just further solidifies the case of why you would be a good choice to do this project for them. So I always tell our teams and tell our team that the first sell is getting a job, but the second and most important sell is executing so you can get the next opportunity with them, or they can refer you to another client. So it's always a business development opportunity. You might not have the title business development, but everybody in our company is a business developer because what they do day in and day out, whether it's how they speak to the client, how they respond to a client, how they interact with the client or partner, that's all the experience that the owner will get to know, and that's part of the service that we provide and seek to provide, so they can have a memorable experience along the way.
Okay, Donovan, you had moved your company's headquarters at one point from Raleigh to Charlotte. Was that a simple decision? Was that an easy process? I mean, what was the whole makeup behind you moving your headquarters? Although you moved it in within the same state, but what was the whole process behind you changing your headquarters geographical location from one city to another city?
Yeah, so it was a couple reasons why we strategically did that. One, we took our growth plans of what we wanted to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And we said, okay, we wanted to be a contractor that was along the southeast corridor to operate in, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all these different areas. So Atlanta. So we looked at, I said, okay, where's a geographical location to kind of bridge the gap between those, before we opened up an office in Raleigh, excuse me, before we opened up the office in Charlotte, we were in Raleigh. We had a lot of projects going on in South Carolina, and those, to travel that distance, sometimes it's a 3.5, 4 hour drive to get to those projects. But from Charlotte, it's an hour drive, or hour and a half, depends on where you're going. So, geographically, it made a lot more sense, with Charlotte being kind of a centrally located area for the current work that we had, but also the future projected growth that we were trying to do. Charlotte made a lot of sense. But back up a little bit. Before we moved the office to Charlotte, or opened up the office in Charlotte, we were working in Charlotte, kind of, I'm gonna say, in a remote way. We had folks down here building projects, but we didn't have an office. So, what we did was made a strategic decision to say, hey, we probably shouldn't open up an office because we're continuing to get some traction down there, but I think we're missing an opportunity to really capitalize on a market share that we hadn't been able to capture by not being there fully. So, when you look at the different type of market sectors, they were a little different in what we had in Raleigh. So it would allow us to add on to our growth plans in different markets that we primarily didn't have in Raleigh. So we looked at it from a strategic reason, from the standpoint of market growth, geographic location, and also, the business climate in Charlotte is really good. You have a political climate that they're pro business, and so when you see that, as a business owner, you look at that and make some decisions. So we made the decision that it was a strategic decision to help with our growth plans that we set out with growing our business to where we were trying to get it to go.
Donovan, you mentioned earlier that you grew up as working in the construction industry as a family-owned business through your father, and it kind of reminded me a little bit about the late Herman Russell, who established himself as a general contractor in Atlanta, Georgia, and then his son now runs the operation and it's modeled as one of the most successful, particularly black owned, but just one of the most successful general contracting, general construction management companies in the country. Did you look at the Herman Russell company operation and get some type of ideas or inspiration or something that kind of you looked at as a positive example to aim for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, anybody that been able to follow anything construction will know that the Russell family and what Mr. Herman did, that company and what he made is a model to follow. Definitely looked up to what they did, and as growing up, they were the hallmark of what a business would be, and the avenues that they took it and giving back to the community and what they were able to do. So, in building my company out, definitely looked at what they did and how they did it. And when you look at the model and the blueprint and the clues that he left, it was centered around giving back and community and building a better community for the people and the community that they were in. So you can see a lot of those traits in that. And as I look to build our company and looking at those things, definitely taking those success traits and implementing in our business is definitely what we've been able to do. And Russell and the Moody's, CD Moody's down in Atlanta, they definitely have created a blueprint for others like myself to follow and do it and take what they did and how we take it and grow it and improve it going forward in this market that we're in. So absolutely.
Now, currently is DA Everett Construction Group the sixth largest general contracting company or the sixth largest minority contracting company? You kind of explain your ranking in Charlotte and then throughout North Carolina.
Yeah, so Charlotte Business Journal does a ranking of largest African American owned companies in the market. And I think last year or year before we were five, and I think this year we're number four. Uh, I think I got that right. Of the largest African American owned companies. So and as far as in the market, we're definitely a top ranking company in the actual geographical market. We've done we did just north of 80 million in revenue in the close of 2024. So we have plans by 2030 to be a $250 million company at a minimum. So we have some strategic growth plans to really grow our business, scale our business to where it is, and our trajectory has been up since the start of our business, and we're going to continue to do that through strategic growth. We're a hungry company with some big plans and big goals, and we will achieve them. We get the right folks on board with us to do it, and we'll continue to continue that path up as we have set on our sites. So.
Well, Donovan, obviously, there's so many impressive things about your company, but not just having a strong presence throughout the Southeast section of the United States, but you also have an operation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. How did this now international operate? Well, is it really international because the U.S. Virgin Islands is a Commonwealth? But I mean, somewhat people might view the U.S. Virgin Islands as another country. So how were you able to establish yourself
Sometimes it feels like
internationally?
that, but now it's still you still have to go through customs and all that different stuff because you go out in international waters. But I think I said early on how our business is built on relationships. That's what we've built our business on, and that opportunity came from a relationship here in South Carolina that we were working with an owner in South Carolina, building their facilities in South Carolina, and that owner also owns businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I remember sitting down one day with him for lunch prior to us going over there, and said, I was just curious to ask him how he got into the Virgin Islands market, because I always thought that was interesting how that happened. And I said, oh wow, So when he told me the story, it was basically him. An opportunity came to him, and he raised his hand to take it, and he took it and been successful at it. I said, well, must have been a pretty good opportunity to do that. Love to have that opportunity. And fast forward a couple of years later, he said, "Hey, you remember that time you asked me about wanting to how I got to work in the Virgin Islands? Would you be interested?" And I had no license over there, had nothing, didn't know, and I immediately said yes. Didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said yes because he needed some facilities renovated. So fast forward, in the process of getting licensed in Virgin Islands. This was back in 2017. That was the year that two major hurricanes blew through there: Hurricane Irma and I think it was Maria that blew through there in 2017. So the plans that we were going to originally do became bigger plans. So the hurricanes blew through there, tore all his buildings up, and we ended up going over there to rebuild 6 projects for him, and through that made some relationships with other owners over there that we've been able to get in front of. So it was all through a relationship that started here, and that's been our business. It's been all relationships, and uh, it's all that's how it's all been. It's all relationship. It was a question that I asked, and it came out to be something. And the biggest part of that, I say, is I said yes when the opportunity came. I didn't stumble. I didn't say, "Oh, let me think about it." I was taught by a mentor that says, "Commit first and figure the rest out later," and that's what I did, and that's what we did, and we made it happen. So
Do you view that as you being a risk taker?
yeah, I think in business you have to take risk.
Hmm.
I think you have to take some level of calculated risk. But this is what I knew. I knew that we can execute. I knew we can ask the right questions to figure it out. But we also had an owner that was very connected. So I said, well, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work. Best thing that it can happen is that it will work. So I run under the mindset that it will work if you put in the effort to do it. So it worked, and you know we were successful at it, and great experience.
Now, would DA Everett Construction Group still be classified somewhat as a family-owned group? I know Toya Everett was very instrumental in putting this operation together. I didn't ask her whether she was your family or your wife. I was just wondering, in general, do you have somewhat like a family operation, or your business is kind of just a regular business that you just have regular people, from the outside that's not family members working for your company?
Yeah, so Toy's my sister. So uh, my dad has his construction company, which is residential. I started this along with another colleague of mine when I was at the international uh, construction company. We had worked together, which is now my current senior VP. We had worked together at this company for 10 years. I was there 10 years. She was there 13 years. And we started that together. And as we built this company, you know, you have folks that are in your corner, like my sister Toya, who's been instrumental in helping us getting connected in the community with her real estate background, from her corporate background. So, our company, I'm the owner of it, but it's not me. This company was able to go because of the people that work here day in and day out. Wendy, our senior VP, Ian, our operations manager, Jason, our pre-con leader, and the rest of our team. They make my job easy. It's not me. It is not. It is a team, and I'm blessed to be to have a team of those folks. And like I said, Toya, she's been able to help us grow strategically with her organizational background, to come in and help us get very focused on scale, get focused on strategy, to help our management team go. So Toy serves as an executive advisor capacity to help our teams grow and stay focused on strategy. But the day to day, I have a leadership team that really makes this thing go around. I have an easy job, so if that makes sense.
Hmm. Does that kind of give you a extra sense of fulfillment when, not obviously when you can help someone and help yourself, but also your sister Toya, she's part of your company, just giving her an opportunity, and y'all working together as part of your team. Does that give you like another sense of fulfillment that you just probably couldn't get just working I guess just working as a regular 9 to 5 employee?
Yeah, man. I will tell you, you can pay me nothing. Well, I
Mm.
won't say nothing, but
Right.
to be able to operate your own, create something, create opportunity for others that are around you. You can't put a price on it. It, you just can't put a price on it. Knowing that, building a legacy out that's going to outlast me. I have a young son that could potentially whatever he chooses to do could jump in and take over operations if that's what he want to do when he's older. Um, you can't put a price on it, but also too to get to have some success and to give back to communities that you live and work in, and to provide mentorship, and but also to create opportunities in your organization for people that they're with you along the way, that help you from day one to create opportunities for them. It's a feeling that I can't describe other than if this is the way it feels to hit the lottery. That's
Right.
a good feeling, because that's sometimes the way I feel to be able to do that. Knowing that you got people around you that are the people that you want around you, like-minded people, people that care about you, people that want to be a part of something and be successful just like you are. That's an amazing feeling, and that's what it's all about for me. So
Now, Donovan, currently, some of your big projects that you, or just your projects in general that you're currently working on, uh, there's some impressive companies that I'm hearing that you're part of in Charlotte alone. Could you kind of let people know a little bit about some of these big projects that you're currently involved with?
yep. So I'll kind of talk about some that we've done in Charlotte, and then I'll talk about some that we're currently working on. So we do a lot of K through 12 work. So Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools is one of the largest school systems in the country, but definitely in North Carolina. So we've done 5 or 6 projects with them. We're getting ready to start another one that we were just awarded. The city of Charlotte, we did the Bojangles Coliseum, which is a older coliseum where they have different entertainment events, and so we did that a couple years ago. And we worked with the Charlotte Police Department building their facility down in South Charlotte. But more recently, we were awarded the Spectrum Center Arena for the Charlotte Hornets, where it's a $215 million renovation that we are doing in a joint venture with Turner Construction, that we've been a part of. So that's the most recent project that we're doing here in Charlotte that we're excited about. And Charlotte's you know a good area, and working with, like I said, Charlotte Hornets and Spectrum Center. Novant Health is another client of ours that we have here out of Charlotte. So a lot of great opportunity here in Charlotte, with some others that we're chasing that are high profile, and we'll hopefully have the opportunity to do those as well.
Well, Donovan, what about the Charlotte Douglas International Airport? That airport is growing rapidly, and they're putting a lot of investment into that particular airport. Are you seeking a bid, or is that something you want to keep confidential? Sometimes you don't want to disclose all of your secrets and everything.
No, definitely. So we're currently at the Raleigh Durham Airport now working. So aviation work is something that we definitely continue to track, and being right here in Charlotte Douglas International, with the expansion plans they have, that is definitely something on our radar that we are have on in our radar. So I think it will be not wise on our part not to even look to see what that is about, but by us working in the Raleigh Durham Airport. So definitely the Charlotte Douglas Airport is a major airport with a lot of plans to grow, and we're excited to see where that goes.
Currently, does DA Everett Construction Group, you have enough work to carry you over the next 5 years towards the remaining portion of the last decade in the 2020s?
Yeah, so we are currently out with backlog work. I think it's late 2028 right now, going into 2029, and we're very fortunate to be in that position. And that was all by design. We continue to look out for our business 3, 5, 10 years. If you don't have a roadmap to where you're going, it's hard to figure out where you're going. So we got ourselves by goals. We got ourselves by strategy, and like I said, we're currently out to 2028, late 2028, early 2029, and we're already thinking, like I said, we're already looking at 2030, 2040. I mean, 2030, 2035, and where we're trying to make this business go. So we set the plan that's out, and we build it out. We back into it from there to say, okay, what do we need to do to get there? Let's start working on that now. So that's part of scaling the business, putting things in place to help you get to where you're trying to go, which is what we've been working on. Processes, procedures, organizational leadership, all those different things allow us to get there. So our backlog is a strong backlog, and we're fortunate to be in North Carolina, or in the Carolinas. North Carolina has one of the one of the most robust economies that you can have. I think Charlotte has 100 and I think 108, 109, people moving here a day. And Raleigh, Durham is very, very not far behind it. So when you have that amount of people moving, there's roads, there's schools, there's hospitals, there's housing, there's all these different things that come from that. So we've been very fortunate to be in a place that has investment into technology, into forward thinking things that we're excited to be around.
And would some of, let's say, your policies play a role? I mean, sometimes people like to stay away from government, elected officials towards how they run their operation. But do you kind of have to stay somewhat a little bit abreast towards what the current political climate consists of, let's say, locally, statewide, or nationally? Or you just can pretty much run your operation without having to really be involved with any particular political policies that currently exist?
Yeah, I think anybody that's in business, you better be connected to politics on all levels to understand it and to know what's going on because business is affected by policies and different things. So I think this is what I will say. We focus on controlling what we can control, but also to building relationships, regardless of whatever aisle they sit on, because we know that business is a runs one way, and you got to be able to forge relationships with different people and understanding different political arenas. And so one thing that I spend a lot of time doing, or a good amount of time doing, is keeping my finger on the political climate pulse and building relationships with elected officials to understand where things are going, where policy is going, and how it affect businesses, particularly small businesses like ours, and what we can do to have a voice for in that, because at the end of the day, that small businesses make up the majority of jobs that we have in the market. So how does that going to play a part into what we do? And how can I make sure there's a relationship there so I can understand how that policy is going to affect, so we can plan for it down the road and not hear about it on the news. I think if you hear about it on the news and know where it's going, it's too late, and it's hard to make decisions with that and have a voice when you're being not active into. When I say active, being keeping up to date on that stuff. And you just got to be very attuned to it and smart, and don't get caught up in the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. A lot of folks get caught up in the noise, but not focusing on the blocking and tackling of policy and things, how it can affect and what it can affect, and that's what I spend my time doing. So.
And I guess one thing, I might have mentioned it or asked you this briefly during the interview, that obviously they tell people have like an emergency fund, but as a business owner, you have to have an operation budget. You have to have a certain amount of money set aside to meet a payroll. But do you have to have other things like other investments? Let's say just in case there's a collapse towards certain products that you can't function, to carry you for 6 months, carry you for a year. Do you look at it that you have to establish yourself in that presence as well, or is it something differently to how you have to run your businesses that you don't really have to do that?
Yeah, so I look at it a couple ways. So you got to look at where you want your business to go. Looking at it for just a paycheck, or are you looking at it to grow your business? And so for us, we each year after year, we recapitalize our business with the profits that we have in our company. And we do that because we know we want to grow our company to be a certain level where we are. So, we're not just keeping for payroll. We're looking at it for how can we continue to grow? How can we leverage what we have for other investments in our company? How can we make strategic investments early to get prepared for where we're trying to go, whether it's through hires, key investments in our in infrastructure, all these different things that we do. So I think the first thing is you got to make a decision on what you want out of your business. If you're looking at it for a paycheck and you want to take money out to live this lifestyle, then that's make that choice to do that. But we've made a choice that we're going to grow our business to be a sustainable high growth business that we're a contender on a big level. So I think you just got to make a decision of where you want to take your business and where you want to be, and be willing to sacrifice what you want. And with bonding, a lot of projects that we do are bonding, and they're bonding companies look at liquidity to allow you to bond up to a certain amount within your business. So if we know we want to do bigger jobs, larger projects, more of it, we got to be capitalized in such a way that it meets the needs of what the bonding company is going to look for. So we measure all that out to say, okay, where do we want to be from a bonding capacity? What do we want to be from operating capacity, investment standpoint, and make our financial plans based on that.
Sounds like an excellent way to end this particular segment. We're just about out of time, and always try to find a good way to end the particular show. But as I ask every single guest every single week, if there's any last words, any last things that you would like for people to know, either about yourself or DA Everett Construction Group or anything else, feel free to do so.
Yeah. No. Thanks, Jonathan, for the opportunity to come on your show and talk a little bit. Hopefully, I was able to provide some insight to the Everett, but also to help someone out there that may be listening, maybe looking. But I'll say this: I'm just a guy from North Carolina. Nothing special about me. I tell people all the time I had a praying mama that threw up a lot of prayers, but I also followed a plan that was given to me. And anybody can do what I did. I'm nobody special. I wasn't this A+ student. I worked hard. I surrounded myself with the right people, and I stayed focused. And I tell anybody, do can have big dreams, dream wild, dream big. Don't give up, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve that you have set forth. And to my team that's out there, I want to thank them, because I wouldn't be able to be where I am today without the team that surrounds me. So as you're building out what you're building, know that you can't do anything alone. It takes a team to get to where you're trying to go. So I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully this message will help somebody out there that is looking to do something big.
You're welcome, and I'd like to give special thanks to your sister Toya Everett, because she was very key in putting this interview and this show together. Was her involvement, and I thank you as well. You had provided an excellent presentation this morning on the Face to Face talk show, and I wish you and DA Everett Construction Group the very best of luck in the very near future.
Appreciate it, John.
All right, you take care. Okay, this is Jonathan Small. I just enjoyed hosting this edition of the Face to Face talk show with the special guests, founder, president, and CEO of DA Everett Construction Group. And I mean, he was a real Donovan was not just an excellent presentation, but he was a real down to earth, humble person. And I thought he played a key presentation towards providing not just information about DA Everett Construction Group, but about business in general and somewhat towards life in general. And hopefully for you, the viewers, you was able to find this particular program interesting and needed. Next week, we'll be doing the back-to-back face-to-face talk show. Looking forward for this particular show. But until I see you again, for viewers out there, have a very blessed day and keep the faith. Thank you.